There have been a lot of instances of cheating in MMA, both inside and outside the cage, but in this video, we're going to highlight some of the dirtiest cheaters inside the cage. Fighters who constantly cheat with no remorse. Some of these guys have even done some horrible things outside the cage, but for simplicity's sake, we're just focusing on what they've done inside the octagon, whether it's eye gouging, illegal kicks, biting, or worse. Micheal Chandler is one of the most loved fighters in the UFC, known for his fan-friendly, all-action fighting style. But beneath all that hype, Chandler has proven to be one of the dirtiest fighters in the game today. During his fight with Dustin Poirier, Chandler blatantly cheated multiple times. At one point, he put his finger inside Dustin's mouth to gain leverage for a rear naked choke, an illegal move called fish hooking. If that wasn't enough, Chandler even spat a mouthful of blood onto Poirier's face while on top of him. Despite all the dirty tactics, Poirier still managed to beat him and submit him in the third round. To Chandler's credit, he admitted to cheating in the post-fight press conference.
Will admit, yes, his mouth was open and my hand went inside of there.
Do I think it was something that people could say, hey, that was dirty or that was illegal? Yes, I could definitely see what you're saying.
But that sense of accountability didn't last long. During his fight with Charles Oliveira, Chandler was getting dominated heading into the fifth and final round. Desperate, he landed a few shots that rocked Oliveira, but then followed up with a barrage of 17 illegal punches to the back of the head. Despite this, no points were taken, and after the fight, Chandler showed zero remorse, trying to gaslight fans into believing the strikes were legal when they clearly weren't.
And the referee was right there, dude, because, I mean, he took like 15 shots to the ear, like 15. And I was like, is this for you gonna step in, dude?
Then we have Jon Jones, the undisputed GOAT of the sport, the man with the best resume in UFC history. But despite all his accolades, Jones is also one of the dirtiest fighters to ever step into the octagon. Jones's long reach and distance management are legendary, but what's also legendary is his constant use of extended fingers to eye-poke opponents. This isn't an accident. It's a dirty tactic he's used repeatedly to keep his foes at bay. Rampage Jackson even called Jones the dirtiest fighter ever after getting poked himself. But the eye pokes are just the beginning. Early in his UFC career, Jones was disqualified for using illegal 12-6 elbows. And in a title defense against Anthony Smith, Jones blatantly kneed a downed opponent, another illegal move. Smith chose to keep fighting instead of taking the DQ win and the belt, but the fact that Jones was willing to risk a DQ in a title fight says a lot. For many fans, Jones's legacy will always have an asterisk next to it because of his dirty tactics. Mike Kyle might not be a household name, but his dirty tactics inside the cage are unforgettable. This guy has fought in nearly every major MMA organization and been kicked out of most of them. In his UFC debut, Kyle bit his opponent, leaving a visible mark on his chest. And when asked about it afterward, Kyle showed zero remorse. He was eventually cut from the UFC, but his dirty tactics didn't stop there. In a fight against Japanese legend Tsuyoshi Kosaka in Pankrise, Kyle was repeatedly gouging Kosaka's eyes. The fight was stopped due to an eye injury, and Kyle was declared the winner, but anyone watching knew what really happened. And the worst offense came later in the WEC when Kyle landed a brutal soccer kick to Brian Olsen's head, then followed it up with ground and pound after the ref had already tried to stop the fight. It took multiple people rushing into the cage to pull him off. Kyle's reputation is so bad that most fans were relieved when he retired after getting knocked out 6 times in a row, most of them by brutal KOs. Honestly, seeing him get knocked out that many times felt like justice for all the dirty stuff he pulled. For Gerard Gordeau, we have to go way back to the origins of the UFC. Gordeau was the first fighter to win a UFC match, but his dirty tactics quickly overshadowed that achievement. In a fight against Royce Gracie, Gordeau bit him, yes, bit him, during a grappling exchange. And despite this, Gracie still managed to submit him. But Gordeau's worst offense came later in Japan when he fought Yuki Nakai. During the fight, Gordeau eye gouged Nakai so badly that Nakai was left blind in one eye for the rest of his life. Even worse, Gordeau showed no remorse afterward, cementing his place as one of the dirtiest fighters in MMA history.
He took his eye out. You also gave interviews afterward with no regret in regards to it.
Yes. I don't care.
And finally, there's Leon Edwards. Edwards is a skilled striker who's made a name for himself with his stand-up game, but he's also made a habit of cheating to keep fights standing. Whether it's grabbing the cage to stop takedowns or landing brutal eye pokes, Edwards has shown that he's willing to break the rules if it gives him an edge. In one of his fights against Kamaru Usman, Edwards got caught grabbing the cage to stop a takedown and actually got a point deducted, something that almost never happens in the UFC. But that's not even the worst of it. In a contender fight against current welterweight champ, Belal Muhammad, Edwards landed one of the worst eye pokes in UFC history. So bad that Muhammad thought he might be permanently blinded. The fight was ruled a no contest, but the damage was done. Even worse, Edwards' coach tried to spin it by saying Muhammad was exaggerating to get out of the fight. When they ran it back in early 2024, Muhammad got his revenge by dominating Edwards in London. Seeing Edwards get dumped on his head was a satisfying moment for a lot of fans who were tired of his dirty tactics. So those are some of the dirtiest fighters in UFC history. Their skills are undeniable, but their repeated fouls have left a stain on their careers. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more MMA content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.